There's a story that was out last week, which was incredible. Keir Starmer calling for Israeli hooligans to be able to come to Birmingham and trash the city alongside Tommy Robinson. The idea that the Prime Minister would like people who come over and trash the city to come here, that was just appalling. But actually, even their own club said we can't let our hooligans go over there. So that isn't happening. But there's still issues to be raised about the whole game itself. Maccabi Tel Aviv coming to Aston Villa. On the call, we've got Rob Horsfield from Birmingham Stop the War. Uh, how are you doing, Rob?
How you doing, mate? Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you for coming on. I couldn't believe Keir Starmer saying that we've got to get these hooligans coming over here, then bringing up anti-Semitism and all that kind of thing, when it's clear that they've just been banned because they are hooligans.
Yeah.
But then it's kind of gone silent from the mainstream media, but they are coming to Birmingham. The team are coming to Birmingham on Thursday, and you sent this flyer, which is a protest outside Aston Villa Football Club at 5 p.m., 3 hours before the kickoff. Can you tell us what you're planning?
Obviously, this has been dominating Birmingham activist attention and Birmingham for the last 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to be there on the 6th of November, this Thursday. What we're doing around boycotting Israel from football, and also to try and address any potential community concerns, because the real nightmare has been the fact that this has just opened up a powder keg, because Birmingham is a much maligned city, and it is used as a political football for this government, even though they've dropped it. So we're trying to be there in numbers on Thursday to try to essentially make the case for boycotting Israel, make the case for kicking Israel out of UEFA because they shouldn't be in it, and basically trying to make a show so that the far right don't get any confidence from being there in numbers.
Yeah, the thing that you said that Birmingham's being used as a kind of political argument, but also a really dishonest portrayal of
Yeah.
Birmingham. We saw that from Robert Jenrick, didn't we? Saying that
Mm.
he hadn't seen any white people or something like that. How
Yeah.
bad has it got with the right wing thinking they can say this sort of stuff?
I think people um often uh use Birmingham, I think, because it's one of the most diverse cities in the UK. It's the second largest. It's got a very strong working class base, and it also has a lot of severe, poverty. But I think what's often been missing, a lot of the subtext, is that Birmingham is one of the most, it's especially its Muslim community, is one of the most maligned in the country, right? I mean, even in the last 15 years, you've got Project Champion, and if anyone remembers Project Champion, that was a effort by West Midlands Police to install spy cameras all around Muslim majority areas in Birmingham to essentially counter terrorism, with the being an extremely racist project to monitor and surveil Muslim communities. There were protests about that at the time, and because at first they said, "Oh yeah, it's just to monitor traffic," but with through protests they managed to expose it, and one of the people involved was Ayub Khan and Sami Yaqub, who, campaigned on this. And then you had Project Trojan Horse, which was a complete hoax designed to insinuate that Muslims are infiltrating schools, trying to indoctrinate children into Islamism and all this. And that, was one of the reasons why we have the modern version of Prevent in our schools. I work in a school, and, Prevent is still looms very large for a lot of kids as well. I think it's a shame that they're using this racist rhetoric. Jenrick's talking about slums and so on, but he doesn't talk about child poverty in this area, right? I mean, I think Perry Barr is a constituency. Child poverty, according to the Joseph Rowntree Foundation, is around 54%, and Hall Green and Moseley is 55%. It's got some of the worst poverty. I think it's got 27% poverty rate, and that's the highest in the country, Birmingham, the West Midlands. And yet the only thing they want to focus on, is, the message they're giving is we don't care about the bin strikes, we don't care about child poverty, we don't care about the council cuts. And in fact, it turns out that the council cuts might not even be necessary, because it turns out that, there's a report this week that indicated that Birmingham might not have even been bankrupt. But Starmer is willing to turn around to people of Birmingham and going, I am more than willing to scare the hell out of you by actively trying to bring a genocidal state's football team to your biggest football club. I mean, it's astonishing, but there's a strong history of this. I think what the difference is this time, which is, I think, has surprised everyone, is that West Midlands police have grown a brain and gone, no, they pose a very clear threat to public safety. They pose a very clear threat to the people of Aston and Birmingham at large. And they've stood firm. Whereas, of course, what we're usually accustomed to is, as people have mentioned, is that the state, usually has a very good, and the party in government usually has a very good grip on what the police do. Yeah, this time, So it's been a relief, and it has. I think that's why the government's just sort of dropped this the government themselves have dropped it. I mean, of course, the damage is done. The media is saying that, Birmingham's like. It's like it's some sort of colonial outpost to them. It's very bizarre.
I'm from Notting Hill, and they
Mm,
did the same in the 50s with Notting Hill, saying it was a no-go area, and they had
mm,
Lord Mosley go in there, and this tactic of the right wing of demonizing an area is it's been going on
yeah,
for ages, really, hasn't it?
yeah,
And I find it strange that people can't see that it's the same thing, really, and they think it's a different principle. There's a different reality going on. This is the right wing using propaganda
mm,
to further their cause.
yeah,
There's no, that's all it is, isn't it?
yeah. I think with especially with the decades of because this is also about Palestine, with the decades of a Palestine solidarity movement's work, and then the enormous strides made by everyone in the last 2 years in this country, um, in changing the narrative, in challenging the rhetoric and so on about Israel being, a chief, ally in West Asia and a dependable ally. And, traditionally, a few years ago, you could rely on at least a good portion of, sort of the establishment, the liberal intelligentsia, and so on and so forth. And now that consensus is gone. There's no more power of persuasion when it comes to Palestine, right? And I think what we've seen is that Starmer and the government in general, the British state, has essentially lost so many of its key allies who can give a sort of, patina of legitimacy to the Israeli state. And they've gone, all right, well, our only real fans are fascist fucks, really. Because, the far right see Israel as a sort of global Sparta against, the West Asia, against this whole idea that there's a great placement of Muslims coming to the UK and so on
Yeah,
and so forth. And that's why there's been an effective alliance with Tommy Robinson on this.
yeah,
Because there's
yeah.
nobody else. There's really nobody else who's willing to come out and step out for this, apart from, like some sadomasochistic Telegraph journalists. You know what I mean? And all these really disgusting, pieces which echo the Daily Mail in the 1930s, to be quite frank. But in some ways it does show us the advances that we have made. That these are the only dregs they can get. But of course, we've got to try and survive it, right?
Well, I hope it goes well on Thursday. The
Thank you.
idea this team is playing in England, in Birmingham, is beyond belief. Do you want to say something about that? I mean, is it the UEFA should be banning all
Yeah.
Israeli teams?
Yeah, I mean, it's just part and parcel of uh, you know, international politics, basically, isn't it? Like, Russia got immediately banned upon its invasion of Ukraine. from participating in a lot of global sports. There was a very, successful South African anti-apartheid campaign where, there were a lot of cultural and sporting boycotts. It should just be the norm. It should just be the standard sort of sensible reflex of, of governance, but it's not. And I think I think one of the reasons why they've gone so hard on this is, the government is because they realise that if this match did not go ahead, then that creates an opening for a greater boycott because it's it's a Europa Cup league game, isn't it? So it's a very it's a very important part of sports washing Israeli society. So that I think that's why they're so invested, and it should not go ahead. I mean, it really shouldn't go ahead. I mean, it's causing so many tensions here. So many people are upset. There's a lot of disaffected people. There's a lot of demoralization here and disenfranchisement, and it's just seen as a provocation to let these be. I mean, and the sad thing as well is that by labeling these these Maccabi fans as Jews, by creating these parallels between the Jewish community and Maccabi Tel Aviv, Starmer is actually is associating Jews with violent behavior, and there's none of that is mentioned in the media. None of that is mentioned about the fact that is actually causing potentially huge issues for interfaith relations. But they're doing that because they want to distract from, I think, the ultimate issue, which is boycott.
I actually think it would be useful for us to film what the protest is like on Thursday because I imagine there'll be mainstream or right wing, I mean, they're almost the same now, media trying to show some kind of footage that will undermine the campaign to stop Israel playing in the UEFA. So, and also make out that there's troublemakers from your side. It's obviously going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think it's important we get media up there to show the truth. So I'll try and get someone to film it.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming on.
All the best. Take care.
Cheers. Cheers.